So without further ado, let's get this started. It's totally gonna happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hayley Atwell.
So much for both being and playing such an incredible woman in an empowering show that proves that female-led comic book series can get a huge fandom. Look at this. This is amazing. Do you think that part of Peggy's success is because everyone is so ready for more female-led comic book TV series and movies?
Absolutely, and I think Marvel listened to their fans and then gave them what they wanted, which is why they're so brilliant.
I completely agree. I mean, I think I speak for everyone in here when I say that Agent Carter needs a second season.
Well, we're running out in about 3 weeks from now, it will be greenlit, so fingers crossed. But all the help and support I've had from social media, from all the fans around the world have just been incredible. So I'm very hopeful that it will happen, yeah.
Well, when it gets renewed, what would you like to see happen in season 2?
Well, I think she's had closure with her, grief over Steve. So I think it's about time she had a bit of romance in her life. She takes herself and her work very seriously, so a little bit of romance would be nice.
I can get into that. Maybe some Peggy backstory would be cool too.
Yeah, it would be amazing to figure out where she's come from. What is it about her that kind of created this extraordinary person, this icon? And what she went through in childhood to create the person that she is today would be great.
One of my favorite things about the show is not only did we have a strong female protagonist, we also had a strong female antagonist who portrayed Dottie.
Yeah.
What do you think the future of Dottie and Peggy's relationship kind of is going to look like?
Oh, she'll be back. She'll definitely be back. So will Angie as well. That's one of the great things about this series as well is you've got in their friendship with Angie, it's very rare that you see two women on screen that are either not talking about guys or fighting. So you have a genuine friendship between two women who care for each other, and I think that's a very positive message. And then with Dottie, it's great to have someone who's kind of my nemesis, but she's equal to my skills, and we definitely haven't seen the last of her.
I would love to see you two team up eventually. Never realize the error of her ways, and then you two just kick butt across the universe together.
So I think there's room for improvement for Dottie.
Well, I want to get straight to audience questions, so let's go over here first on the left. Oh,
hello. Look at you. Hi.
My question is, in the movie Captain America, why are you always so serious?
Oh my goodness. Well, when you are a woman in a male-dominated environment, and boys just don't get it, it's frustrating, right, women? Right? It's so annoying. So just waiting
lot of roles that are like period specific or very costume driven, and I just wonder what was the worst and best experience in dealing with something like a giant boot skirt or unfortunate.
Well, yes, I feel like I was born in a corset. I'm very used to that. It's not so much the older stuff, like when I did the Duchess or Brideshead, that was very obviously period drama. I think the hardest part was actually playing Peggy, because there was a scene where I had a harness, so I had stockings, Spanx, my underwear obviously, a harness, a mic pack, and a very tight pencil skirt and a pair of heels. And going to the bathroom was a nightmare. And it meant that it was like it was an event. It was like, Hayley needs a pee! And everyone, the whole set almost shut down as I had to take all these layers. And I also had to go to the DMV wearing everything, because my driving license had run out, so I had to go and renew it. So in fact, on my driving license, I am dressed as Peggy Carter. With the producers, they said, how do you feel about doing your own stunts? And I said, well, if I don't at least try, then I feel like I would have, been fake and let down the fans. And I just wanted to take every opportunity to accept every challenge that I could. And it was wonderful. And the only thing that I wasn't allowed to do was jump onto the hood of a moving car, because they said, I might break my ankle or something. It was so boring, but I was like, okay, fine. But of course, as I think many people who follow me on Twitter know, my first experience in a fight sequence, I accidentally kicked a man in the private area. And we have a slow motion video of it, which I'll show you one day, of him going, and me going, no! And I thought that might be the end of it. I thought that might be the last chance of hurting someone, but then I ended up hurting another 6, 7 star guys. So I really enjoyed it.
That's very Peggy. Yeah. Right. Thank you. We're gonna go over here. Hi. So I heard that you have a special talent that was passed down in the Atwell family. Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, I'm sure many people have seen this before, but it's kind of a form of ventriloquism that it makes me puff out my cheeks like a blowfish, and it sounds very strange, but I'll do it for you, okay?
Thank you so much for coming here to Calgary. So Asian Carter has been great in how it's represented all of those complicated gender politics of the time. And I was wondering whether you could see the show doing the same with the race politics of the 40s and 50s, and what you might like to see that way.
Absolutely. I mean, what we're lucky with is we started in 1946. We have this culturally, this backdrop of this grave gender politics, which creates tension and drama for the show. And I think there is an opportunity, because it's the Marvel Universe, it doesn't have to be linear. We can jump 10 years, we can jump 20 years. And there's every chance that we use various social issues within our series, and we address them in a kind of enlightened way, the way that we have in gender politics. And that's something that the producers are very in tune with, and they want to feel that everyone is represented. So it's something that I would love to see, and I would support 100%. Yeah.
We all know how Peggy deals with sexism, occasionally punching people in the face to her advantage. How do you personally deal with sexism?
Well, that's a great question. I think that the main thing that I've learned over the years is to try to develop kind of an intelligence and a level of wit that outwits people, so that if I am in the face of in the face of sexism, they are the ones exposed as being ignorant and, quite frankly, quite stupid. So although I don't use my fists, I certainly would encourage other young girls to develop their intelligence, so that they have an ability to stand up for themselves in not an aggressive way, but in a way that gives them their dignity and their integrity and the respect that they deserve.
Thank you. We all know how Peggy deals with sexism, occasionally punching people in the face to her advantage. How do you personally deal with sexism?
Well, that's a great question. I think that the main thing that I've learned over the years is to try to develop we were doing anything we could just to keep ourselves awake backstage. And on set, well, the lighting and everything was kind of rigged up. And we developed this kind of dueling game where we'd sit on these office chairs that had wheels, and we go to one end of the lot, and we would just scream really loudly and charge at each other. And it was effectively a game of chicken, just to see how likely we were of doing some serious damage and who was going to back out first. And sometimes we would be on one of us would be on a slope, so we'd go and then dive at each other, but then completely miss each other because of the pathway. Other times we rammed into each other, and you can see so many times producers just going, oh no, because it was probably against all health and safety records. So we did that for a while, and then we got a bit bored of that, and I had lots of bruises down my legs, and he was feeling really guilty that he was hurting me and all that kind of stuff. So we developed this kind of the grape game, where there were so many like giant grapes on set in the craft table, and they were massive. And so we would stand kind of from one end, about the distance of the stage actually, from one end to the other, just trying to throw grapes into each other's mouths. But we had to catch them, as many as we could in our mouths, without swallowing or chewing them. And then we still had to be coherent in a conversation. So for a long time. And there were silly things like that which kept us amused, and the rest of the crew found it a bit disconcerting. That we are grown adults, but yet that's what actually rocked our boat. That's what kept us awake.
I also heard that you have a running game of Friday night charades with Chris Evans.
I do. Well, Chris and I are both massive kind of gamers, and we like party games, and he's very competitive, and I'm very competitive. And so we're never on the same team, but I don't know if you know with running charades, it's effectively charades, but you're in two teams, and your team has to guess all the answers before the other team does, and there's kind of a race involved. But what's awesome at Chris's house is wooden floors, so you don't have to run, you just skate across the floor to your team member, and you have to act out the name of the film title or something. And if you can see the pair of us, Peggy Carter and Captain America, is falling around on the wooden floor, getting to our team, and being really competitive, going, no, I got that first, it was me, I won. It's really silly. We're both children.
That's amazing. Yeah, over here.
So, season 1 ended so poetically. My question is about season 2, though, when it gets renewed. Right? Yeah. Do you think we're going to explore the Black Widow angle with Dottie a little more in the next season?
I think so. I think it's fantastic that Peggy has a nemesis that's a female, because one thing that we don't want to get too political about is the fact, the idea that Peggy is against men, or that's too black and white, and that's kind of too trivial. And I think it's great that she has a nemesis, a female equal that can sometimes outdo her and outwit her, which will make Peggy work much harder. But I think Dottie's a really interesting character. She comes from deep insecurity and the feeling of not really having an identity and having been brought up incredibly abused and neglected in her training, and that's trained her into being a killer. But she does show some emotion in the last scene about, now I can be anything I want. And of course she disappears and realizes she's made a run for it, she's still living somewhere. And I think there's so much more to explore in her character. Obviously the whole history of Black Widow is fascinating, and it's obviously travelled through the Marvel Universe. So I'll mention it to the writers, I'll see what they say.
Peggy's not against men, she's just against jerks.
Yeah, essentially, there's a difference, yeah.
For sure. Alright, over here, hi.
So you mentioned doing your own stunts, and Katie's fighting style is not very graceful or elegant. She kind of crashes and smashes into things, and I love it. And I was just wondering how you incorporated that physicality into your characterization of Peggy, not just as a fighter, but as a person.
I think the main thing that I felt was Peggy with her perfect hair and makeup and her outfits and uniform, and being quite British, she's quite reserved, she's very in control, she knows who she is, she's confident, she's capable. But what I love about the fight sequences is they're dirty and they're messy, and it's Peggy's release from feeling so overwhelmingly controlled by her environment that she just, on a whim, will grab a stapler and smashed one over the head with it. So I thought that was a really nice touch because, if we saw her doing backflips and things like that, I don't think it would be as realistic because we'd also go, well, where did her training come from? She doesn't look like she's a black belt in martial arts. And so I think what it also shows is that she has a very intelligent way of using the props that are around her to kind of on a whim defend herself, and she's very present with it, and that's what I kind of love most about her fights.
Thanks. That was a great question. Yeah, hi, Targus.
I just wanted to know about women positioned in the Marvel universe and fighting gender cliches, etc. If you were not a bit disappointed about your character at the end of season 2, when Agent Thompson kinda steals Peggy's thunder.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my god, he's such a jerk, because he recognized her position as a good agent, and at the end of season 1, you feel like he totally forgot about that, and then it's just like,
Yeah, he showed his true colours in that moment, didn't he? They had a moment where you think, oh, maybe there's some intimacy between them when they went away with the Hamlet Commandos, but he came back and then just revealed himself to be a jerk. But the wonderful thing is, I think it's in the text, it's in the dialogue, the written word. She says, I know my value, no one else's opinion really matters. She has a strong sense that very slowly things are changing, and she's waiting for the rest of the world around her to catch up with her. I think she feels ultimately that her time is going to come, but it's certainly not going to come from her whining and moaning and kicking Thompson in the shin and going, I should have that praise, because that's just not in keeping with her character. I think she has some self-respect with her.
Thanks a lot. Hi, great cosplay.
Thank you. This has been kind of touched on, but I'm wondering how doing your stunts went when you're wearing heels and a nice shirt and you're like, okay, now I have to kick you.
Yeah. Well, I had a bit of a cheat, really. I was given different levels of heel from the costume department. So you have Peggy's kind of, 4-inch heels and 2.5-inch heels and fighting scenes which are like 1.5 inches. And then the skirts just get a little bit longer. Just that few, I can't tell you what a few extra inch of skirt does to be able to kick your leg up higher. It was very liberating. So we have little tricks like that that really helped us. But the other side of it is you just get on with it, and it's very liberating to be able to just, whatever what you're wearing, is just to let rip and express yourself and go a bit crazy. And I kept on thinking, Peggy's capable of doing this. I'm just going to have to stop thinking about it and do it. And so on action, I thrust myself in there. I mean, I do remember though, I remember with my stunt coordinator, she kept on saying to me, Hayley, when you duck, it's good, but you do this kind of thing. We're not in a club, and we're not dancing. I was like, right, okay, let me try that again. But because she planted the seed in me that I was apparently doing with this, I had Nicki Minaj's Anaconda in my head. For the entire diner fight sequence. That's all I'm doing, is I'm singing Nicki Minaj in my head, which is very, very un-1940s, which I kind of think Peggy's never done.
Thank you. I didn't think you would do well in 2015.
Yeah. She'd be best friends with Beyonce, sure.
I would totally back that. Over here,
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, Hayley. It's a pleasure to have you here. As mentioned before at the very beginning when you came out on stairs, Agent Carter, she's the character that we've been waiting for. She's smart, she's savvy, she's confident, but she's not butch. She's not pegged as a femme fatale. She's just classically feminine. And I'm wondering, like I know Marvel has the writers and the producers and the directors, but I'm wondering how much input you have on the direction of Agent Carter's character.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think because initially, when I did Captain America: The First Avenger, there was no talk about a spin-off for Peggy. Peggy has very little screen time actually in the film, and so when the producers came to me a couple of years later to do the one-shot, which is the 12-minute film of kind of Peggy's life for the Blu-ray DVD extra for Iron Man 3, I think it was, we did that, and I had such a great time with the producers on it, that then when they said, do you want to make a show? I said, yeah, but I want to have a say. I want to give the fans something more than what we've seen her be, which is capable and strong and serious. I want to show her vulnerability. And because I had to wait for a year and a half, it's not an hour at all, I wish I had an hour, a year and a half of tearing my hair out, wondering if the show was going to get made, I had these great conversations with the producers and the writers, and I'd go to the writing room, and we'd talk about it, and it felt very much like a collaboration. And the two things that I said that I wanted in the show to have that we hadn't seen before was her vulnerability and her humour, or at least the wit created by people like Jarvis. And those two things were so strong, and luckily the writers were just on the same page with me. And then I remember on the first day of filming, the producer came up to me and he just went, "This is all on you." Thanks. So he said, "You set the bar now." I was like, "Oh, no pressure." But it was a wonderful feeling, because I'm a fangirl myself, and I love watching inspirational, uplifting heroines out there in any kind of film, medium, and genre. And I really wanted to get the opportunity, okay, if I'm going to do this, then I want to be able to bring my all to it, and not just feel like I was turning up, reading someone else's lines and being told what to wear and where to stand, because that in itself is kind of degrading. That's not very Peggy-like. So the actual nature and the essence of who Peggy was gave me the confidence as an actor to have a voice. Thank you.
There's so much talk about strong female characters, but I think complex female characters are really important in different types of women.
Absolutely. Well, women need to be better represented in the media anyway, in terms of the different women that we have in all shapes and sizes and backgrounds and cultures, and I think it's absolutely valuable that they feel represented, and I feel like it was a step forward for me in that she was vulnerable, and she makes mistakes, and she gets angry, and she gets probably hormonal and moments of hysteria. I mean, well, hopefully we'll see more of that in season 2, because I think it's real, and we want more people that we can relate to. It's what makes the world go round.
Absolutely. Yeah. Over here. Yeah. Hi. Great T-shirt.
The four most important words of television. Thank you for being here, number one, and thank you for, I think, really showing that there is a historical through line from the 1940s, which, quite honestly, that was my bedtime stories when I was a little kid, to now, to what we experience as women now. And it's not divorced from each other. It's not some far away past thing. And it's actually been a really great bonding experience for me and my mom, and bringing up things that my grandmother did and so forth. What has surprised you, as you've done a lot of research era-wise, what has surprised you the most?
It surprised me, I read a book about World War I and World War II female spies, and there was a lot more active women working not just as land girls in those wars, but women in positions of extraordinary power. But because they were spies, it was almost that their femininity and their nature was a great facade as to basically, the bad guys would see a beautiful young woman and immediately assume they weren't a threat, which is why a lot of women were then great spies, because it was easy for them to be undercover, because you just wouldn't assume a woman was capable of those things, which is crazy. But that was surprising me, and then also the fact that there are heroines everywhere in everyday life. And I think about my grandmother and how she lived her life in a very simple way to how we live now. And I think about her natural courage to just keep going and to bring up a family in an honest and truthful way, the best of her ability, given all the adversity that was around her and the lack of opportunity for her, and the belief that because she was a woman, she didn't have the intelligence or the ability to go to further education, for example. And so it gave me so much more compassion for the women that have gone before us, and the men that have gone before us have kind of helped to support women's rights and helped to give women a better voice. So I think there's obviously a long way to go, but we've come a long way, and I think that should be celebrated.
Hi,
I'm not as good a person as Peggy. I think it's, I mean, someone asked me the question, if it was you and Thompson took your thunder, would you react like Peggy? And I go, no! No! I go, excuse me, that was mine. I'm someone who kind of shouts at the rooftops when I have an opinion about something, which is not as sophisticated or as graceful or as elegant as Peggy. But she certainly gave me more, I suppose, more stamina and courage to keep going and to keep working in this industry that I love, that I feel very grateful to be in, but can also be hard sometimes, as any job is, with relationships and creating healthy environments with co-workers. And I think it helped me. I just kept on thinking, what I learned from Peggy was, there's one thing about me being an actor and me acting the role of Peggy, but then there is the other thing about how I behave on set as an actor. And that means making sure that every department feels validated, from the costume department to the props to the lighting to the sound, that if I do my best job and I appreciate what they're doing, they're going to do a much better job as well. And I think I learned that through Peggy as well, that you're essentially, everyone's sacrificing time away from their family and their friends to come onto a set and create a show, which is risky. And the best thing that you can do is to provide a really happy, active, proactive, exciting, and kind atmosphere so that everyone gets a chance to do their best work.
As Cinderella's mother, right? Yeah, did you guys see that? That was great.
It was a dream. Well, the weird thing was, I was doing a play in the West End in London, and I was doing that at night. And then I'd go home, get home by 11 o'clock in the evening, and then by 5 o'clock in the morning I had to be in Pinewood Studios working with Kenneth Branagh. Now what they didn't tell me is that I was going to wear a blonde wig, and that was fine, but what they also didn't tell me was that I was going to have bleached eyebrows. So they bleached my eyebrows, so every night when I got back to London to do the play, of course I took the wig off and I had dark hair. It looked like I had no eyebrows. So I had to spend half an hour in my dressing room before going on, just very carefully colouring in my eyebrows again. And it was a very surreal thing. I was in this play which was so different to Cinderella, and then during the daytime playing this kind of idyllic, kind of maternal figure. It was wonderful though, because Kenneth Branagh is a fantastic human being, incredibly intelligent and emotionally intelligent, and he called me up and he said, would you like to do it? And I was like, no, way, why would I work with you? And but it was jumped at the chance. So but what's also really lovely about that film, and some people have said it's not really reworking, some people have criticised it, going, what is it really saying about, we've had such fantastic positive stories and things like Frozen that comes a long way about female empowerment and relationships. What does Cinderella have to say now? And my kind of point was that you take a girl like Cinderella who's experienced extraordinary levels of neglect and abuse, and her inner strength comes from maintaining her dignity throughout this awful wrongdoing, to have courage and to be kind. And they're two things which are underrated, I believe, in this very cynical world. And she grows up to remember what her parents have instilled in her, which is forgiveness and compassion. And that's Cinderella's strength. It may not be as proactive or productive or aggressive as someone like Peggy Carter, her approach, but it certainly has gravitas and it has value.
That's a great way to think about it.
I just want to say first that thank you for making Agent Carter one of the most wonderful parts of the Marvel Universe. And is there any character from the Marvel Universe you want to see come on the show?
Wouldn't it be great to have Cat back on? It would be wonderful. I mean, I'm still holding up for the fact that Peggy's got some blue serum stashed in her bag somewhere, and she gets to inject it herself, and then she gets to live forever. But we know from Captain America 2 that doesn't happen. if she does age. I'd love to have Chris back. You know, he's a dear friend, and he's someone that I think we could bring back in a really interesting way. You know, when Peggy falls in love with someone else, it'd be great if there's flashbacks of Cap or dream sequences of Cap, which struggle for her to be able to move on in her life. Because I think the one thing is that she losing Cap is a driving force in her life, and it's a very big part of her character. So by season 2, I think it would that it would undermine her relationship with him if we didn't in some way keep that going, some kind of thread, so that we know that she always thinks of him and she always misses him.
Is there anything you can tell us about that?
I'd have to kill you all. I'm saying nothing. I don't know. Am I in the I don't know.
I tried, guys. I tried. I'm sorry. Cat.
I was watching the show, and how did it feel when you found out Leviathan was hunting you down?
Well, I was very angry. And I was also relieved that Howard didn't turn out to be a bad guy. I think that made me think, okay, there is someone out there that's worse than Howard. And I think it meant that there was a common enemy between her and the SSR. So although she was doing her own missions away from the office, they were essentially after the same people. Thank you. Hi.
Hi. My question is, why are you so perfect?
You should speak to my mother. Well, I say that because I think she would say she's not perfect. I'm definitely not, but that's very, very sweet of you to say. Hi.
Hi. It's great that you're here, and it's awesome talking to you. My favorite episode was when you got teamed up with the Howling Commandos. We really get to see you lead, and we get to see a lighter side of her character. What was your favorite part of filming that, and what do you hope to see in the future of her and the Howling Commandos?
I think my favorite part was Dum Dum Dude and I had, you know, all the snow was obviously tiny bits of white paper. And there was a massive paper machine blowing out fake snow all over the trees and all over this beautiful wilderness that we were filming in. And so every so often, you know, a bit would get stuck up our nose or the back of our throat, so we would just go in the middle of the take. And that was really good fun, you know. And it's always nice to work with someone that you work with again, because you've broken the ice with them and you get to share fond memories together. So I think that was kind of my favourite, and I love the scene where they share a drink together, and you know, he knows that she misses Kat, and she doesn't need to say it. I think there's an unspoken understanding between them, and these are her team. These are the people that really know what she's capable of. And she obviously at the end of that episode, she's invited to work with them again, but she feels that she's got a role elsewhere that needs her attention. But I think what's wonderful about it is that because there's such a strong relationship, they can keep coming back in her life and helping her save the day whenever she needs them. So hopefully we'll see more of them.
I have a question in favor. I'm going to start with Hayley. When Agent Carter does get renewed for a second season, could you make a recommendation to create a greater interlockingness or network between Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter? Have a 5-year-old Nick Fury appear in Agent Carter?
I'll see what I can do. I'll put in the call.
Well, you were in a couple of episodes of Agent S.H.I.E.L.D. this season.
Yeah. Before we shot Agent Carter, I was invited to come on as a cameo for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was the first time I'd ever done American television. What was extraordinary about it was the pace at which it works. There's no time for rehearsal. When I do a play in London, you have 6 weeks in a rehearsal room with the director, but in television you're given the script the night before, and the next day you wake up and it's just go, and you have to be on it, you have to nail it, and they've done a great thing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. of being very tight and being very clear in their takes. So it's quite intimidating turning up, you know, and having to that was my first introduction to filming American television. But it was thrilling, and they're such a lovely group of people. And every time I can bump into them at Comic-Cons, it's a high five and it's a hug. It's lovely, a lovely family.
That's awesome. I love that. Did you have one more question?
Yes. Clearly, since it's 2015, there are a lot of strong female characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Black Widow, Ming-Na Wen, Melissa May, and yourself as Picard. Who do you think would win in a freeway smackdown?
I think what would happen is that we'd all have a pretty good go, and we'd all get pretty hurt, but we'd all tire ourselves out to the point where we'd find it quite funny. And then I think we'll just burst out laughing and then go to the pub and have a couple of cocktails.
Go off together and be best friends.
Exactly.
Awesome female friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi.
Hi. So first off, thank you so much for coming. You're so wonderful. When you were filming Captain America, when you saw Steve shirtless the first time, you seemed a little flabbergasted. I was wondering what that experience was like.
I'm sure you all know the story of that. We've not rehearsed it. I have not seen Chris without a shirt on before. And so when it happened, I was trying to be serious, trying to contain myself, but I mean, it's real, guys. That's really how he is. That's how he looks. And I think any good, honest woman or man would have done what I did.
The internet calls him the human Dorito. So flawlessly triangular. Hi.
Hi. So I know you already kind of shut down questions about Age of Ultron, but did you have any fun on set with that?
What I will say is that I got the director very drunk one night before they filmed anything, and he Joss Whedon is a legend. He's such in this world. He's so bright and smart and self-deprecating. You know, this guy kind of walks in with a t-shirt and jeans. He's like, hey, how you doing? He doesn't. There's nothing kind of pretentious or arrogant about him. He just loves what he does, and he's a huge fan of the franchise. And I think that's what makes him a great director. So that's all I'm going to say on that.
Thank you for trying. Hi. I was just wondering, as an aspiring actress, if you had any advice for how to get into the industry.
Well, I can never really give advice other than tell you what I did, which I didn't come from an acting background. I didn't know anyone in the industry, and so I didn't have the privilege of being able to have a way in. So I also knew that I didn't ever want fame for the sake of fame. I wanted to be good at what I did because I love telling stories, and I wanted to. I really admired actresses that I saw on stage, like Judi Dench and Helen Mirren, and many great women who I felt were not only good at their job as actors, but kind of really interesting, well-rounded female, modern-day ladies. And so I decided that I wanted to be like them. And so I went to drama school and I trained in classical theatre, and I did my degree in acting in the Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London. And it was a rigorous audition process, and you choose speeches from Shakespeare and modern day plays. And it was 3 years of really hard work where you learn a craft, and it was a foundation to teach me that you're constantly an apprentice in this profession, and as you're creative, there's no kind of goal other than to do the best you can and be better with every job and every opportunity that comes your way. But it gave me a foundation which I feel like I can plant my feet firmly on the ground so that I would never get lost in the trappings of fame if and when it should come, because it's a very empty and very lonely place to be in my experience. And to always go back to the theatre as being a very wonderful and safe and humanitarian environment, and to never ever give up if it's something that you love and that's what you want to pursue.
Thank you.
Hi. What was your favorite scene and least favorite scene to shoot in Captain America: The First Avenger?
Oh, it's very difficult.
I feel like we've already covered the favorite scene.
Yes. Mind you, the kiss was pretty nice. I tell you one of my favorite things that I didn't film, which was one of my favorite experiences. You know when Cap transforms and then has to go running after the baddie after he kills the Doctor, and he's running barefoot down the street? Well, he was wearing these knee-high latex legs and feet that made him forget rubber and latex, and there were like 3 or 4 pairs of them on set. So I had nothing to do in that scene, and I was pretty bored. So I just slipped off my little heels and I put on a pair of his legs with my Benny Carter outfit on, and I just walked around the set, and nobody noticed. Which makes me think it must think that I have the most horrendous legs known to man. I mean, they were like giant hams. So bizarre. And I was just having whole conversations with people. I had no idea. So that was probably my favourite scene. I just want to say I'm truly humbled and touched by the incredible support that everyone has shown for Peggy, and it's because of you that we got her for season 1. It was because everyone said that they wanted to see more of her, so you are the reason that I'm here, so I thank you so much for letting me continue her journey.